Hey everyone. Today we're joined by Kyle Lambert, founder and director of Med4All Global, who has participated in research and programs within the field of neurobiology and mental health at Columbia University and Cornell Medicine. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So, as you said, my interests lie within neurobiology and a focus on mental health, regarding that aspect of neuroscience. This has been something that I've been able to explore, since a very young age. I grew up in Jamaica, so I had a bit of experience regarding the issues that, you know, I found important or things that I saw were really huge in the world as I would grow and start to research and realize different things within healthcare and recognizing healthcare inequities that existed not only in Jamaica but the world at large. So I grew up with a not only an understanding of that but a passion to want to rectify that. So that's really pretty much been like the hallmark of my work here since moving to America about 3 years ago, actually. So not that long. Um, but living here in New York City has just really provided me with a plethora of opportunities to expand on that and create, the most impact as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely amazing. And it is very sad to see. I definitely know living in Kazakhstan, there's so many people who don't have access to proper healthcare, even though the world is developed and many people do. And I was privileged to have that growing up. And it's definitely something that is very important for me as well and to push for that. So through Meant for All, you promote mental wellness, elderly care, and health education, as you mentioned. So what led you to found this organization? And can you expand on the work that you do?
Right. So, as I said, I moved here 3 years ago. Before moving here, I had the idea in mind, whereas I knew I wanted to have a structured organization, whereas I am not only just learning about this issue and helping other people to learn about the issue, but also be able to fight it in some way and give as much effort into combating the issues as possible. So, in moving here, I started to explore the topic a bit more through different programs. And one thing that was definitely helpful in coming together with Med for All Global was a program that I did at Cornell Medicine, which is Cornell University's medical school. And it was there that I was able to really build on an interconnection of global health and neuroscience and see whereas there's certain issues lying within that interconnection that I could I could tackle through an organization like Med4All Global. So I didn't want to waste any time. So literally within a couple months of living here in New York City, I started Med4All Global, and it's been a blessing so far being able to just work on my passion through that community that I've created, community of um, leaders across the world who are so willing to give back to their communities, not just locally, but their brothers and sisters worldwide. And that's something that's just so important to me. And being able to provide other people that opportunity to create that change through my program, through my organization, has just been really important.
Yeah, for sure. That's really amazing. Can you expand just a little bit more about like the specific work that you do and what
Mhm.
are the services you provide, or how do you stay in touch with them? So,
Mhm. Definitely. So in creating Med for All Global, I wanted to have something that was multifaceted in the sense that I wanted to be able to create change in not just one area, but see how best I could be able to communicate with people through different platforms, through different programs. So that's where the brainstorming came in hand, and I put together a team based on different, not just programs that I would do, but different people I'd meet all over America itself, and meet different people from all over the world that were interested in, putting together something like this. And what that led to was setting up programs such as having mental health workshops in various schools in their different countries. Currently, I have ambassadors and volunteers in 6 continents. We have ambassadors from several countries, from Bangladesh to Jamaica, and here in America. So what I try to do is have a structured thing, whereas people within their different communities are able to reach out to me and say, okay, Cal, this is what's going on here. This is how I could see myself utilizing Med4All Global to benefit my community. And then I would do my best to provide them with as much resources, whether it's with the mental health package or discussions regarding period poverty. We are able to, start discussions and start doing hands-on work. Like, for example, as you mentioned, with regard to elderly care here in New York, I've been able to do some local work with my volunteers here, whereas we visit local local medical homes and different medical facilities that host elderly people, and you know different events that we'd have there. Sometimes we'd even just have like a little food drive for them outside of just checking blood pressures and having different things, but really just bringing smiles to people's faces, because it means a lot to show someone how much you care about them, without even knowing much about them. And I think, that's just been something that has been important for me and has been at the forefront of my journey. So having those various projects in Med for All has allowed me to do that, and my volunteers.
Yeah, wow. The work that you do is very inspiring. It's very cool. So, moving forward, what is your vision you see for Med for All in the future? And what are your goals with the organization?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just so excited to move forward with Med4All Global over the next 2 years. I definitely see it expanding as a global community with one. So expanding to more countries where we're offering our programs to a lot more countries. Specifically, I want to definitely open up a lot more to countries in the Caribbean and in Africa. Um, Luckily, we've been able to have a lot of partnerships here within America, of course, and some partnerships in Asia. And I want to just be able to expand that. Beyond that, though, I also want to be able to start increasing funding for various projects that are more hands-on. Currently, we were working on a partnership with this nonprofit that is based in Canada, the Global Spotlight, and we've been able to start having discussions about different things like COVID relief. And however, it's been a bit difficult regarding funding, especially right now, because everything is so scarce. So definitely moving forward, I want to be able to improve our ability to receive that funding and be able to utilize it towards these very important projects that are really creating impact worldwide. So yeah, I'm so excited to just move forward, you know, and continue building on Mid for All Global.
For sure. And I think it's, especially with this pandemic, you can see how in demand medicine is, and especially organizations like yours.
Yeah.
So, you have done so much as a teenager. And why is it important for you, for youth to be involved in society? How can they participate?
Yeah. A lot of times as youth, we're told so much that, because of our age, uh, our voice is, carried with a bit less weight. And honestly, I believe that that couldn't be further from the truth. There's so much power in youth activism, in youth voice, having the ability to say, this is what I believe, these are the issues that I see, and this is how I see it best to rectify it or work against it. um, I've been able to just meet so many powerful leaders who are, pretty young, from ages from literally 14 years old, upwards into the college age. And seeing the work that they've been able to do, I can't stop but just can't help but to stop and just think, imagine if these people were to really just hold back their voices, how many less people would be able to receive such valuable impact, whether it's through Meant for All Global or the different other organizations that so many youths have created worldwide. I think it's just important to be able to, one, learn to value our voices, um, because I think that's where the problem lies, beyond just adults saying, you guys should, calm down here or just wait until you're older. I've had several people come to me and say, at least when I was starting Medpro Global years ago, they would come to me and say, these are huge issues that you're trying to tackle here, as a young person. Maybe wait till graduate college, or you start med school, you finish med school. Uh, but looking forward at that time, it was really, like, am I really supposed to sit and wait 10 years to work on something that is so critical? So my message to anyone, to any youth leader, and I always refer to pretty much any member of our youth community as leaders, because we really always have that leadership potential. Is just having that ability to step outside and putting our work out there. So to any youth leader, I'd say, definitely never limit yourself, in the sense that you're able to really work on those issues that are important to you, and be able to just step outside of your comfort zone at times, step outside of your zone of, being that maybe, of course, as youth, being that quiet person, um, and be able to just say, there's something that is important to me. There is some change in this world that I want to create, and this is just how I'm going to do it, regardless of how adults or other people may feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think a lot of us have heard being told that we're too young to do something.
Yeah,
It's terrible. I mean, honestly, yeah, how can you sit back when there's so many issues in the world that do need fixing? And just because
right,
you're younger, that doesn't stop you. I honestly think it's an amazing time where you have so few risks, really. It's the time of your life where you're not worrying about taxes, you're not worrying about, for many of us, of course, living um, worrying about a roof over our heads. And so we can take advantage of those opportunities and start organizations like yours. So that brings me to the next question. For those who aspire to pursue similar spheres of study or even work in volunteering, what would you recommend?
yeah. So my number one advice is always networking. I mean, since moving to New York City 3 years ago, in joining these programs, as you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, I was able to meet so many people who put me in different places, in the sense that I would meet one person at Cornell who would be able to say, I know a researcher at Columbia who'd love to work with you. And a researcher at Columbia who say, there's a program at Yale that I'd like you to do. And I think it would be excellent for you. And then there's that chain reaction. Once you're able to just put yourself out there and start, just speaking to people, there's so much to learn from each and every one of us, whether it's another young person, or an adult who's just been through the process already. I've been so blessed to be able to um, utilize these programs as areas to to really draw from, and see how I can best be able to improve myself and improve my academic career, as well as my work in community service. And it's just been a blessing, because now I'm able to say that I'll be attending Yale for the next 4 years, and that in itself has just been um, something I'm extremely grateful for. But more than that, I can be able to attribute that to my networking from before. Whereas, without going out of my way to speak to this one person here, I wouldn't be able to meet that other person there, and then set off that chain reaction. So definitely my advice to any young person hoping to pursue something like that, and further their academic careers, or their work in community service, it is so vital to be able to bounce information off someone, and allow someone to bounce information off you, and be of open ears to just realize that there's so many opportunities out there. And you're not going to be able to find them without speaking to other people and, hearing what they have to say, and, the different things that they've probably been able to do, and how you can, learn from that and probably join that.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. Networking is so important. And you don't want to, just because, again, it's your age, you can put yourself out there. There are
Yeah.
adults who are willing to listen to you. And it's just taking that first step to get to know someone, it can really serve you down the road. So, as you were mentioning that you're going to Yale, can you tell us a little bit more about your academic journey? How was it like? And why is education important? And how have you been able to take advantage of the opportunities you've had at high school?
Yeah, definitely. So when I started high school, because I started high school in Jamaica, um, well, our high school system is a bit different from the American system, where we start high school there in seventh grade. Um, but within my ninth grade year, I was taking around 18 classes in Jamaica, and you know, it wasn't until like coming here that I, I realized that that's probably like a crazy number. And I thought, I was pretty much managing it well. So it was then that I think a lot of people would come to me and say, Kyle, I think that you possibly have a possibility to just, uh, flourish with your academic career. And I realized that, okay, well, I guess if I'm able to just put in some work here and um, realize my interest, because as I said, I was developing my interest within neuroscience at the time and global health. So I wanted to be able to explore that. And, there really is no way to explore that without having a, well-rounded education and something that is focused on having an understanding of a lot of different areas. So I would start to expand my academic journey from early on in moving here to New York City, whereas I was taking classes in various communities, whether it was at Columbia or my high school or another local college, Medgar Evers, as well as Queensborough Community College. I was able to um, learn about different topics that would help me right now. And expand my ability to create impact, whether it's through Medfor. So honestly, it's really about just being able to, as I said, step outside of your comfort zone. Because I remember, being in 11th grade here, and deciding that I'm gonna take organic chemistry for within high school. That's something that scared me for a second, because that's something that a lot of people would think is like a weeder course in college, where students who want to go into medicine like I do, that's the course they start realizing, oh, this is a bit difficult. um, but I was able to say, really, I'm willing to take those academic chances. And it benefited me, because at the end of the day, I was able to, not only do well in that class, but it helped me do well in other classes. And as I took more risks, I was building, not just my resume, but myself. And I think that was, a driving factor in allowing me to get into Yale, and several other colleges of the same caliber. But I wanted to also build on myself for the work that I do. And I've been able to do that. So honestly, it's just about being able to just take risks sometimes, take that one class that seems hard. It's fine to not get a perfect score. It's totally fine once you're doing it for just the love of learning and wanting to build yourself. So yeah, I've been so lucky to have those opportunities here now in New York City. So really grabbing them was just no problem.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, a lot of like academics, even though they might seem a little bit, for me personally, it can be a little bit redundant. But then when you
Hmm.
afterwards learn so much and you've realized that you can really apply them to so many places, and then you're going to build on them. And then you have that perspective of like, oh, wait, I'm developing myself and I'm working on myself and becoming a better person. I think that perspective is very key. So as you mentioned, you have recently been accepted to Yale University, and many people are just getting into the process of applying. Do you have any advice for those who are planning to receive a higher education?
Mhm. Oh yeah. So one piece of advice that I always try to give is, as much as the statistics are important, all the numbers, it's the SATs, the GPA, all of that stuff, they're all important. But one thing that I was able to utilize to set me apart from other applicants was my essay, or more specifically, my personal statement, as well as the supplementary essays that come with a college application. That is, those are your places to really show them, what makes you unique, um, what drives you, what inspires your story. And I think mastering how to utilize that area is really what can allow someone to move from a good applicant to a great applicant. And I, that one thing that I tried to do after getting accepted to different colleges was I would actually just like ask my admissions officer, like, what stood out on my application, just so that I'd be able to pass it on to my friends who are younger and, want to pursue similar interests. And they my speculations were pretty much correct. A lot of them would mention my essays as being, one of, the hallmarks of my application outside of the stats. Because honestly, at this point in time, anyone can get a top 1% score in the SATs or the ACTs. So it's really being able to set yourself apart, utilizing your story, being able to tell your story in such a way that is captivating, um, and really just showing your voice, because they can tell when it's, if you're being, authentic, or whether you're just putting something on paper because it sounds good on paper. Um, so that's my one piece of advice. The other piece of advice that I think is just so important is do what you love. We A lot of times people try to pack their resumes with, you know several activities and different things that they probably have like zero interest in, simply because it sounds good in the name of a college application. But if anything, that's just more harmful than helpful, honestly. And you want to be able to focus on not necessarily one thing, because you're able to have multiple interests. I have a friend who was also interested in neuroscience, and he had his interest in music, and he was able to show the college admissions, both sides of that, and he was successful. So it's being able to identify what you're interested in and showing some commitment with that, showing leadership potential with that. How are you able to, manage your time? How are you able to lead another group, a group of people in conducting a specific task? So there are all those things. And I know it seems overwhelming at times. I know going through the process at times is like, okay, this is really a lot. Do I really have to do um, all of this? But at the end of the day, it was definitely a fruitful outcome. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm excited I was able to just stay authentic throughout my application and just present my best self and no one else. And that's just probably the biggest piece of advice I could give anyone. Really make sure you're presenting yourself, and not what you think an admissions officer wants to hear.
That's really great advice. Thank you so much for that. And now that you
Definitely.
have been accepted, how do you hope to use the resources and opportunities you'll have at Yale? And what are you most looking forward to at university?
Oh yeah, I am super excited to well, hopefully join Yale this fall, because with the whole pandemic at hand, on campus learning is not necessarily set as yet. But regardless, there are so many opportunities regarding, within extracurriculars, that I'm just so excited to partake in. Yale has a plethora of resources dedicated to global health and neuroscience that I just can't wait to dig into, and be able to utilize those to not just build up on my academic career, but really grow med for all. And um, not just that, but having those new people around me, those people who are just so interested in, whatever they're interested in and passionate about various worldwide issues, having their input into, my organization would just mean so much. So that's just one aspect that I am extremely elated for. Um, Definitely looking forward to, the new experiences, making new friends, being able to build on those connections that I was speaking on before, um, and take the take the idea of rectifying these worldwide medical issues to a whole nother scale, given the new opportunities in resources at Yale as well as mindsets, because each person there that you encounter there at university is another source of not just energy but um, inspiration in itself. And I'm just so excited for that, so I'm really really looking forward to that. But as you asked me what I'm most excited for, it's Yale's beautiful campus, honestly. Their residential college system that allows you to just not just meet people but really learn to grow and live with them, and have that be your family for the next 4 years. So I'm super excited to have that community, that will be just so supportive, I know for a fact, and be able to just help me grow as I help them grow, and have that beautiful system just work itself out.
That's really great. Yeah, for sure. And to conclude our interview, is there anything that you would like to add or share with our audience?
Yeah, honestly, you really brought up a good point about youth activism and having a voice. And I just want to say specifically to anyone who might believe that their position in life, whether it's regarding socioeconomics, um, or anything, puts them in a position that limits their voice. My message to that person is to definitely be able to realize the power within you, that it stems further than what another person might want to say regarding your abilities. It's really being able to dig deep within you, find your interest, and being able to say, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is what's important to me, and this is how I'm going to work on it. Because there were times where I would sit and think to myself, maybe with current circumstances this wouldn't be possible. But then I would realize that what, it's really one life. And honestly, there is just so much going on in this world that sometimes keeping quiet about our own interests can sometimes even just like eat us alive, in the sense that we feel like we're neglecting that aspect of what's important to us, and being able to just give back to the world around us. So as I said to that person, I just want them to understand the importance of their voice, the importance of what they care about, and just being able to step outside and say, I'm going to make an impact within the whatever world or whatever realm of work they intend to pursue a passion in. So yeah, I definitely just want to reiterate that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And again, thank you so much for joining us for this interview and sharing your story and your background and about your organization.
Yeah, definitely, it was a pleasure getting to speak to you.